So talking about that, I guess I can surmise that you believe NFTs are not dead. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Midcurve. I think this is our 19th episode with, I don't know, the legend himself, the OG Solana podcaster. Were you the first
No,
podcast on
actually,
Solana?
there was actually an original like Solana podcast that happened,
That's
which
right.
was just like called the Solana podcast, which is now sort of transformed to Validated. I was the first probably developer focused podcast. I think,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I weird story. I remember listening to those first podcasts when Tolly was on it. Like I listened to the very first one. And that was like what kind of got me into Solana in the first place was I had heard about Solana from this venture fund I was working for early on, like 2018, I guess. And then I listened to that podcast and they were talking about cycling on it. And everyone was like really into cycling. And I was like, this is my home. This is my place. I found
Some
my
of the
place.
earliest Solana swag when I first joined, there was an office in Boulder, and I went out there, and like a lot of the guys in Boulder, like Trent and Tolly and a bunch of these guys, like they and Greg, one of the early co-founders, they all were cyclists. So one of the
Yeah.
earliest swags was like one of those tight
Jerseys.
bicycle shirts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found a huge old box of them. I didn't take one because I would never wear it, but I thought it was really funny.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember that. I like vaguely remember pictures of those things and I was like, "Oh man, I
They're
would rock
hideous.
one of those." Yeah.
I think it was the
You
old Solana colors when the old logo was like this like neon green and like something like that. So like they
Yep.
were not attractive
Yeah.
swag.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So first of all, preface, I did no prep for this podcast because I figure like you and I can just we can
Yep.
just banter back and forth on stuff.
I've I've
Second thing,
I've did the same boring style podcast forever.
yeah,
So this is
exactly.
a breath of fresh air for me. So
Exactly. Let's just chat about what's going on.
yeah.
But but I do want to preface this for you. This podcast is called Midcurve, as you know. You like so you can't bring your developer speak into this because I'm not going to
Have you
understand
seen
it.
my Twitter account, man? Like
Yeah,
I'm like 50-50 here. So
I know. I love it. I saw you tweet the other day. It was something like I'm trying to get serious on Twitter and write serious things, but I just can't.
it's
I just can't.
impossible. It's
It's impossible.
impossible. It's like Twitter is actually my like behind the scenes doing grants and like pushing forward a bunch of this stuff. But like Twitter's my outlet to just be an idiot. And I luckily
Yeah.
work for a company that's mostly okay. Every once in a while, I'll get a private Slack message or like it's actually it hasn't happened so much in the last year, but in the early days when I was a little more just like little free spirit out there just saying whatever the hell, I would get a message occasionally from I won't name the people and they'd be like, "Chase, could you please tone it down a little
Tone it
bit?"
down. Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten a few of those messages, especially like when I first started working for Jito. I got one of those messages. Is like we need to tone down just a bit. Just reel it in just a bit. Yeah, but overall, I love that Salon is a place where you can like throw those jokes around, even if you're working for a very serious company, and it's just the culture, right?
Yeah, we work for a
It's amazing.
serious company.
Yeah, serious company, exactly.
But yeah,
Um,
you said you were going to preface it with something else as well.
No, no, no. The only preface I wanted to say was this was mid curve,
Okay.
so keep it to the mid curve level or left curve,
Okay. We'll
and
go
we'll be
left.
fine.
We'll go left to
Yeah.
center.
But I wanted to ask you like, what what do you do at Solana now?
The $1,000,000 question.
Yeah.
I can go through it pretty quick. Like I initially started out as the like first developer advocate, like developer
Mhm,
relations, like build a
mhm.
team from there, the lead. We were helping produce content, building out all kinds of different courses, curriculums, etc. So once that team was built out, which Jacob Creech was leading, I switched over to head of developer ecosystem, which is sort of just like a fancy title, but really what I was sort of like managing that team for a while. But eventually, I took on like Jacob and Devrel were doing incredible stuff. They didn't really need me anymore, so I was taking all the content, all the education they were producing, and working with like educators across the world, like third party educators, to help like onboard them, get them grants, so that as DevRel's building out stuff, I'm making sure that money is getting to teams that are teaching Solana across the world. So at any given time, I had 4 or 5, like 6 to 8 week boot camps running simultaneously in different language across multiple countries. And then once that got rolling, which Jacob's team now owns, this is sort of this thing like work yourself out of a job that we think about at Solana Foundation. So once that was done, more recently, spending a lot more time like helping with things like Mountain DAO. We recently did like the Island DAO, which is try to create that same vibe in Greece, which is now happening in Thailand after Breakpoint. And then finally, like the newest thing, and I don't know if we want to talk about it now or we can talk about it later, was the port, which is the full-time first location. I've always been targeting trying to convince people that like we need to have these full-time collaboration zones, and like finally I got the green light. So anyways, we can save that for later if you want to, but
no. Let's jump into that, because we're both good friends with one of the, the brains behind the port.
the beard.
The beard behind the port. That sounds ridiculous. But we're both friends with Zano, CTO of Jito Labs right now. But yeah, so like explain what the port is. I think people would be really interested in this.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think to start, I'm going to start a little bit further back, which is like hacker houses. Obviously, everybody knows what hacker houses are. If you've been in the Solana ecosystem, what are they? They started out as sort of 3-day like hacking events. All the devs show up, you build stuff, you demo. They've sort of transitioned to more of like a networking sort of BD style thing, less hacking, more sort of like let's get everybody together for a short amount of time. It's not really enough time to build and ship. So there's always like Lily at Solana Foundation used to call them, and like hacker houses are great for what they are, but like in terms of builders, called it the muddy middle, like not enough time to really do anything. Like, if I want to ship something great and be around people, that's not necessarily the place. So I've been watching Mountain DAOs forever. And I'm like, this is it. So eventually got a little more involved in supporting those guys, and really saw grand champions for the Coliseum hackathons coming out of these. Ideas are formed. The last one, V5, which V6 is happening right now. V5, MetaDAO wasn't launched there, but like that's where MetaDAO sort of like got around a bunch of other teams, and they started giving feedback and pushing ideas. So like projects launch, teams are formed. And it only happens when you're like with a group of people for an extended period of time. So I reached out to a group, or maybe they reached out to me, which is Dean's List. And they were like, Chase, we want to try to do this. And I was like, and we want to do it in Greece. And I was like, let's try it. 200 plus people ended up showing up. Similar vibes, a little bit different. They set it up different. And then like, obviously, whenever Dan Albert at Foundation said, hey, I was talking to the Jito guys, they have this pitch for something in Miami. And I was like, listen, these pop-ups are incredible, but like, what if we do this full time? Like, what if build this sort of ship house founders capital, and you bring it all together and you let it last for a year, so people from Solana can come through anytime they want. There's full-timers there, there's part-timers, there's events coming out of it, and like everybody starts to know that as the location. Obviously there's bigger tech cities where you could do this, but Miami has a lot of Solana teams, and I don't think most people really understand that. Like Jito's there, Drift's there, Frictionless Capital's there, Coliseum's there, and I know there's a bunch of other teams and a bunch of individual developers. And I think that's the most important part when you put something like this together, is that Solana DNA already exists there. If you try to start it with like one team and a bunch of other people not in Solana, the DNA like might not like be captured. But if you have all those vibes and all that stuff together already, everybody who comes through that's maybe not on Solana yet will immediately get it, and they'll immediately get accelerated through getting to spend time with Chris and Zano and all these different like killers, and probably opportunities to get access to VCs through introductions from those guys. So that's it, man. You just like, it's just an all-encompassing Solana ecosystem, sort of just gigabrain house, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually really cool. Like when Zano came up to me with the idea, or he was telling me about it at our last offset, I was like, "Oh man, that's awesome!" So they have an event coming up pretty soon. When is that? Do you know?
I
It's gonna be
think
like a
it's
week long thing.
except yeah, I think they're gonna. The idea is to do like a pre-breakpoint, like port kickoff, like hack week, and I think it's gonna
Mhm.
be like September 1st or September 2nd through the 8th are the dates for that. So it's
Yes.
so basically invite everybody, all the Solana homies down. Hopefully, some of the boys from Mountain Dow, because that's right after Mountain Dow ends. They like to
Mm.
just go to these things, show up. I'm sure Zeno is going to be throwing down on the last day for a little DJ set, which will be cool. But just bring everybody down and just show them what the space is. But because the space is dope, like it's like a warehouse in Wynwood that is perfectly set up for something like this.
Man, I haven't seen the space yet, but I'm excited. I was Zano's trying to get me to go to that week, and I don't know if I can make it happen because we're just so busy, and then we're gonna be gone for like most of September in Asia, and it's like, man,
Yeah,
there's
that's
so much.
the yeah, I'm gonna make it, but I think it's true for a lot of people. Like we're reaching that part of the year where like post breakpoint is gonna be that like big s- like sigh of relief that
Yeah.
okay, we're done traveling until 2025, like we're over
Yeah.
this now. I think that's they actually proposed let's do it after breakpoint and I was like good luck getting anybody to come to something after they've just like watched Kevin Bowers show us a million transactions per second on Fire Dancer, just dopamine receptors just blasted. Nobody's coming to Miami, dude. They're all going to sleep for like a week.
Yeah, exactly. So are you gonna be at Breakpoint?
Yeah, I'll be at Breakpoint. I'll be at
Okay.
Breakpoint. And then after that, I'll be flying over to Koh Samui, Thailand for Island Dow. And for people who don't know, the funny thing is, this person like did pretty well from my understanding. The word on the street on Solana, and he bought a villa in Koh Samui, Thailand, and named it Villa Solana, and it's fully branded in Solana. The whole
Oh,
entire
man,
like spot. It's like a seven
that's
bedroom villa right on the beach, but it's also set up. There's like a movie theater and a gym, and that all sounds cool. But the whole thing here is like anybody who wants to continue building after Breakpoint. It's not a party thing. They actually don't even the last Island Dow, like alcohol on premise, they don't do it. This is like a real like let's get together and build some cool
grind.
stuff. So
Yeah, that's cool. I love Koh Samui, by the way. That's it's an amazing place.
yeah, not a bad place
Um,
to spend your time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, not a bad place to work from for sure. Either is Miami though, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it would be nice to be there. I mean, I can't, I can't leave the Northwest now, but yeah, if I was a single guy, just builder, I'd I'd be there.
Yeah, Miami's cool. I actually, honestly, out of all Miami, like I just for my personal style, I love Wynwood. I just
Yeah.
like the it's just like if you could relate it to anything that people would understand, it's kind of like the Brooklyn of Miami, like
Yeah.
in its own way. Anyways, it's
Yeah.
not exactly like that.
Yeah, it's not exactly like Brooklyn. I know, I got this comment from, I don't know if it was Jump or, Wormhole, left a comment on Midcurve the other day, and it was just like, Pipeline or Midcurve is like Pipeline if Danny from Pipeline was what do you say? Like an edgy designer from Williamsburg.
I
And I
s-
was just like,
I saw the
"Dude,
tweet. I think
yeah,
what'd you say? I don't know whether to be offended.
I don't know if I'm offended by that or not. I feel like I should be offended by that." But yeah. Anyway, this is cool, man. We should definitely do something at Breakpoint. We should film some stuff. We should go get some food. Have you been to Singapore before?
I have not.
Okay.
My wife like I'm in Thailand like twice a year. My wife is actually Thai and and like
Okay.
my father-in-law lives there. Last time we were there like 6 months ago, my wife went and saw some friends there, but I still have yet to go to Singapore. I'm probably going to
Okay.
need to like stop at my like vaping like right now because like vaping's illegal, gum like
Illegal.
if you're addicted to anything nicotine related, you
Yeah.
probably should start detoxing right now or you're not going to be
Yeah.
fun to be around in Singapore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I learned last time. So I've my previous company was in Singapore, and I also worked for like I said, a venture guy in Taipei, and I would go back and forth between Hong Kong and Singapore a lot. Singapore is cool. It's like it's not my favorite Asian city. But I learned that gum is not actually illegal last time I was there. I thought it was illegal. It's just illegal to import and sell, but you can bring it and chew it
Huh.
as long as you don't litter.
I thought that, yeah, I thought that's like the whole like deal for like, because I saw Mert getting all pissed off because he looked up that Zen's illegal,
It's
which
illegal.
like just like any like mouth pocket like packet
Yeah.
sort of stuff. The whole thing is, as far as I understand, is just to keep the city clean.
Yeah, it's to keep it clean. You do not wanna litter there. I think it's you can get caned for littering if you
That
get
doesn't
caught.
sound like a bad time. Is that a
Yeah.
punishment?
Yeah. I guess for some people. I actually know a guy that got caned, for breaking the law. He's Singaporean, but
Oh, I was gonna
yeah.
say, I wonder how many cases of like foreigners, because like sometimes as
Not
foreigners in some of these countries, they're like, don't do that sort of stuff because we'll lose our tourism.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's I don't think there's many cases of foreigners getting caned or in trouble. They'll just, like, give you a slap on the wrist, but there's definitely Singaporeans getting have been caned. But yeah, anyway, cool, man. So like, yeah, let's plan some stuff out for Breakpoint for sure. Because we're doing this documentary with Solana.
oh,
We're
you
gonna
are.
be interview yeah. So we're gonna be interviewing a bunch of different people. So I guess I should be talking about this to kind of promote it anyway. But we're gonna be doing this kind of like Anthony Bourdain style, Action Bronson style doc about Breakpoint. We're going to be interviewing Toli, potentially Raj, and a bunch of other guys in the Solana community. So like,
Is this a cult?
Nam.
Is this like a cultural documentary?
Yep.
Like just trying to get like just encompass the entire like Solana vibe versus
Yes.
like all the shit that we hear about on every other podcast every day.
100%.
Nice.
Yes. I am what I told Lucas when I first started building out Midcurve as like a Jito side brand type thing was I wanted to focus on culture and community. And because we have a bunch of podcasts that talk about technical stuff, we have Lightspeed, we have all these things. Like
There's
everyone's heard it a
Lightspeed,
million.
there's Unlayered, there's my show Chewing Glass, which just ended, and I ended it
Yeah.
for a very specific reason. Like it ran its course, and I was like, let's end at the point where like people are sad that it's going, and to just run it into the ground because we were
Yes.
doing like when we made Chewing Glass, it was this micro niche nerdy shit talking
Yeah.
about like
Yeah.
just
It was
engineers
cool.
nobody knows about and hearing their stories. And shockingly, we were doing 2,000 plus views like an episode, and I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell? So it was
Yeah.
really cool and humbling, but like there's the podcasts, like I think at my Twitter profile I have recovering podcast bro in there or something
Yeah.
like that. But it's like there's just it's dilutive. And I was like, there's also Sulfate, which was like doing similar stuff to me. I was like, you don't need me anymore. Like this was at a time when it was needed, not needed
Yeah.
anymore. I'll do some other stuff now.
That's exactly what I told Lucas is like and the marketing team, we all, had the chat about this. But it's like, I want to build something. I want to build what I call it was early Vice. I want to build what Vice was in the early days when it was cool,
Yeah, Vice is not
and
so cool anymore.
it's not so cool anymore. And that's what everyone says. The funny thing, like I talked to Ross and I was like, oh, he's like, oh, so you're building Vice. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, but early Vice, right? Like everyone says that.
Ross Cohen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
And I was like, yeah, you get it, right? Like the early Vice of Solana, I think would be really cool to tell stories kind of behind the scenes of people and tell their story and like,
This is the
some
best.
edge cases.
That's what mine was, but like only for technical people. I just always
Yeah.
called it behind the music for nerds.
Yes,
But
exactly.
like those stories resonate with people. That's what captures people's attention. That's what makes them want to watch something because like we all shit post on Twitter, but like because Zano was on Chewing Glass, like you get to hear like where they came from. You get to hear like I didn't get off too out of track for like it was just technical career wise, but from the beginning, but going a little bit wider around that and like finding out who people are, like you people, I think a lot of you underestimate how many people want to hear those stories. There's a reason like behind the music and all these sort of like cultural documentaries are like everybody watches them because like you want to hear origin stories are just incredible. Like
Yeah.
that's why Marvel's so successful with their origin
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah. Exactly. And I watched that episode of Zano of like Chewing Glass. I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah, I
Um,
learned about that was when I learned about Mev, and he basically used his like analogy of like Getting in,
Airport.
of course he would know, getting in line at a club. Of course he would use
Oh,
that
yeah. Yeah,
example.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, he used that one, and then when I did our first interview with him, he used one where he was talking about, being in an airport and not using his, priority, like, pass or whatever to go through the line because the other line was shorter. He loves the line analogies. But yeah, so I think, like, going back to this whole thing, like, I think people are interested in background stories. I think they're interested in, like, behind the scenes style stuff, and no one's really doing it. I feel like it would be awesome to have you host. We should do, like, an episode with just you, and you host it, and you
Okay.
do, like, a behind the scenes thing. You wanna do that?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Akshay, who's like kind of like the Akshay
I know.
BD, who everybody knows,
Yeah.
I've actually been doing, I tried one out, like these sort of micro 2 minute clips talking about
Mhm.
things I'm excited about. I did one for Mountain Dow. I did it in like, I raw dogged it one go. I just didn't edit, didn't script it. I showed it to him. He's like, that's pretty good. He's like, maybe you should write something down next time. So I
Yeah.
just did one for the port actually that will probably come out not too long from now. But like just like producing more content, like
Dude,
working
let's
working in this industry, like I need to hit my creative outlet because I actually am like I'm like a split brain, like between
yeah.
tech and creative. So I have to have that outlet.
Man, you and I are kind of on the same wavelength. I am a split brain, but, it's finance. I did my degree in finance, but I always worked in the creative industry. And so, I always tell people my dad is a pure math major and my mom is an artist, and I got,
Nice.
right right down the middle.
Yeah, I actually so I was, before I came into crypto, I was like an engineer for 10 years, but I took a like 2.5 year sabbatical from tech to try my shot at becoming like a professional photographer, which I did pretty well until I started to have to sell my soul to shoot weddings to make money. And then like spending countless hours editing those, like I was like, I'm gonna sell all my equipment, buy one mirrorless for travel, and I will never charge money for photography ever again. Like, because it was literally almost ruined my passion for that. So
I mean, that's like with a lot of things though, right? Like when your passion becomes your job, it's kinda like a
and
lot of people
weddings
just
was
burn.
just like,
Weddings is the
no.
worst. Yeah,
The funny
they're
thing
the
was
worst.
that I like had never no experience, and I just was charging like actual professional wedding photographer price. I never was a second shooter. I never did anything. I just
Yeah,
like pretended like I had done. I did, like people loved it, but like I was just like, oh yeah, I have tons of. I would just go to other people's weddings and like take photos, like a couple
yeah.
here, and I'd use that as my portfolio, and they believed me, and it worked out for a while until I started to hate it so much.
That's hilarious. The thing is, like, people make I mean, I know guys who are just, like, wedding photographers or whatever, that's what they do, and they don't mind it, and some of those guys make great money. It's actually kinda crazy.
Yeah, the amount that people charge for what, like you're talking like on between like $5,000 and $10,000, and like that's on like the lower end of weddings in
Yeah.
many cases.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, dude, but I think what I'm thinking though, and, like, I mean, I'm kinda getting off topics here,
No, let's go for it.
but what I'm thinking is, like, if we're at, like, an event together or something, or we're even at the port or whatever, like, we should film, like, a do you ever watch Action Bronson?
I
If
have.
that's the
I'm not.
locals. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you some links, but it's basically like kinda like vlog style, but it's like different scenes and stuff of him just talking to different people, eating different food, whatever. Like, I feel like we could film episodes like that with you, where you're the host and, like, you just sit down, give your thoughts. We're, like, out to coffee or whatever, and then, like, you have a get like, you and Zano could sit there and, like, have a conversation about, like, what's going on at the port, stuff
Dude, I'm
like that.
totally down to do that. That sounds fun. So like now we have the accountability. This is all filmed
Yeah.
right now. So
Exactly. So, okay, now that I got that out of the way, my whole goal here was to get you on this podcast so I could rope you into making content with me.
no, dude, I'm totally down. I'm happy to do it. Like this sounds fun. Like this,
Cool.
anything like that is good for me.
Yeah, and I think, I think we should do interesting stuff too. Like, it would be kind of cool for you and I just to go out and take pictures. Like, go if we're in New York or we're somewhere interesting, right? We go out and just, like, do some street photography and just, like, hang out and do that. Like, sometimes I feel like I need a break from just talking about crypto all
We
the
all
time,
we all do. We all do.
right? So let's go, and like you said, I feel like people are, interested in like kind of the behind the scenes. So like learning that you're a photographer, getting out and like, doing something like that, I think is really cool. And people be interested in like watching you do it, you know? But
Then
yeah, I wanted to,
we need to get the whole Judo squad down here to Costa Rica, and I'll teach you guys how to surf.
oh man, let's do it. I actually learned, okay, so I'm not a good surfer at all. But I learned how to surf in Ireland
Oh
while we
man,
were
I mean, like Ireland has some of the best waves in the world, but like
see.
I'm old now, dude. I don't surf cold water like that. That sounds miserable.
It is cold. It is cold, but we like random story. We lived with like this surfing family slash bunch of pirates, like real pirates. And he was this old guy. He was like at one time the number 3 windsurfer in the world back in the 90s or whatever. Retired in Ireland, has this family there. They teach surf lessons. Like he was a pirate at one point, but he was like smuggling refugees into America. But he's Irish. Anyway, they taught us how to surf and it was a blast. I filmed this windsurfing video with him, but it is cold. But like you said, it's the perfect place to learn because the waves are good. There's like no reef, no sharks, nothing. It's just like the perfect place to, get into it.
Those guys
We
come out
should
of that
go.
water with like ice on their beards and
Yeah.
up there,
Yeah.
over there, whatever
It,
it is.
it's cold, but there's actually a huge wave there.
I know. I've seen it off the cliffs.
Mo- yeah,
I can't remember the
Mullaghmore.
name. What's it
The,
called?
It's called Mullaghmore. I think the nickname is like the Emerald Monster or the Green Monster or something like that. And it is genuinely like a big wave.
Yeah, I've
A
watched
lot of the
tons of
guys that
videos of it, and I'm just like,
yeah,
good luck, guys. Have fun.
yeah, it is wild. A lot of the guys that surf in Nazare, like the two of the guys that were like the pioneers of Nazare,
Oh, what's his name? I can't remember off the top of my head.
it
Like,
wasn't the main guy that they did the doc on, but they were in that documentary. They're Irish, and
okay.
they like cut their teeth on the wave in Ireland. Anyway, random story. Okay, Let's get back a little bit on track. Just all over this place. I'm gonna have to cut this podcast up. But I wanted to ask you though, because you have been around for like you're like an OG, a Solana OG. So I wanted to ask you if you have any like interesting or funny war stories from the beginnings of Solana.
Um, I would say it was weird. Like I started snooping around on Twitter on Solana in 2020, and even into like March of 2021, there was nobody. There was probably like 10 of us. I was just like there were like it was like bots talking about prices, and then there was very few people. The the I think some of the cool stories actually are like, let me think. One cool story from the early days is that how people were getting hired at Solana Foundation and Solana Labs at the time when everybody was before before things got structured. Like because I was at a project called Ken for 2 years as a developer advocate. I left at end of 2020 and joined Circle for 3 days until I like DM'd Raj on Twitter, and I was like, give me a job. Like I helped with this migration from Ken to Solana. I DM'd Dan Albert. And then like honestly, they knew who I was just because I had done some work around there. And then within 3 days, Raj called me at like midnight one night and was like, hey, why do you want to leave Circle? Jeremy's a great guy. And I'm like, too struck like Circle's amazing, but it's a very sort of structured organization. And I was like, and I know behind the scenes, Solana is an absolute shit show right now. And I thrive in those environments. I could just see from the outside that like there was like behind the scenes was not organized. And like, that's honestly probably why Solana did so well, because it was just a bunch of scrappy motherfuckers. But Raj and a lot of the early hiring was just like Raj or Tolly, whoever, just plucking people out and just being like, you work here now, sort of stuff, which is just like an interesting, like everybody I know at like Foundation has these interesting origin stories, like how they got hired. And they're all none of them are classic. Like I went through a few job interviews. They were just handpicked. So that was one of the cool like earlier like stories for me when I found out that like I wasn't so unique in my hiring process, that everybody was just like it was like a just we were a bunch of misfits, I would say, to an extent, that were all brought in here. Everybody did everything in those earlier days, and it just got it was just like a really cool thing. And like the other story I would say, once I joined, or maybe right before, was that nobody, I don't know how many people know this, but like Metaplex was shipped during Bitcoin Miami in like March 2021. Those guys were literally up for like 3 days straight in like an Airbnb with like Bartosz and Jordan and like Raj and Toli, and all those guys were there, and they shipped Metaplex like right out of Bitcoin Miami. And that's when NFTs went live on Solana. And I try to tell this to a lot of people. If Metaplex had not launched at Bitcoin Miami and Bartosz and Jordan had not done what they had done, Solana would have missed the entire NFT bull run, which means massive Solana figureheads like Solana Legend and like all those sorts of guys would not be here. Like basically that one sort of, in my view anyways, I don't know if everybody would agree, but like that was the catalyst.
Mm.
We caught NFT bull run. If we wouldn't have been, nobody would have been paying attention to Solana at all. And a lot of the people that were attracted to that are now like the guys at Frictionless, uh, like Solana Legend and Soul Big Brain, and like some of these like major NFT guys that are now like huge advocates of Solana, that brought in tons and tons of people into Solana. Without that catalyst, we might be missing some key people that would have brought in other key people that would have brought up. I think it we would be way further behind than we are right now without that sort of situation. It was a wild trajectory.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think? Do you think that there's another moment like that coming up?
Oh man,
Like what could be next, I guess, is a better way to put it. Like what's that next thing? Like, okay, so we've had NFTs, right? And now we've had like this meme coin cycle. Like, what do you think is next? Do you think it's proof of work? Do you think it's ore? What do you think?
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I've been like nonstop, like playing around with ore. I think it's an incredible experiment. I think it probably has legs to actually become like a form of like hard money to an extent. But I don't think that will be the catalyst that like drives the next thing forward. Honestly, man, like if I could answer that question, I would probably be rich right now.
Yeah,
But like
exactly.
the reality is that you never. It's always in hindsight when these
Yeah.
things are like, it's always in hindsight whenever you realize what was the thing. Everybody's sort of looking for that next thing. Like looking at the VC landscape, they're deploying in a lot of things right now, except AI. I think everybody gave up on that one for the most part, at least in crypto for now. I I think they'll probably. I hope, at least my hope is that there's an DeFi's back in a big way, but I just like think that DeFi is going to have a bigger resurgence. Like everybody's attention has been over to meme coins. Like, and like these protocols are not really being paid a ton of attention to right now, and I think that'll come. I'll, time's a It's a flat circle. Like we're going to end up right back where we started at some point in time. And or on Solana, proof of work on Solana is proof that it's just like everything, like fashion, like it'll all come back into the. So we're going to end up right back where we started, but like way more equipped to take that stuff to the next level.
Yeah. So talking about that, I guess I can surmise that you believe NFTs are not dead.
Mm, no, I definitely don't think they're dead. I've been watching like the arguments out there. I do think that we'll never go back to the PFP meta like we did before. And if we do, it'll look way different. I'm personally, when I look at projects that excite me, and there's a specific reason, um, like Radiance excites me because I can't have one. Boogles excite me because I can't have one. It's more like exclusive. Like, and I think like Radiance, their whole team has them. So it's like proof of work in order to like, it's like a crowning achievement to have one of those. I think if the PFP meta comes back, it's because you worked your ass off to get this thing instead of like paying a ton of money for it. But I think NFTs have yet, you know, Helium's using these for their hotspots. I'm hoping that NFTs, because everybody associated them with pictures, but we've haven't really seen any success quite yet of like NFTs being like proof of real ownership. Like, you know, real world, the RWAs are getting into that territory right now. So we're just so immature, man. It's really hard to tell. I don't think NFTs are dead, but I do not think we'll have a PFP bull run again. But don't shoot me, don't come at me. That's just my opinion.
Don't at me.
Don't at me, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people about this, like talking about the NFT, because I love NFTs. I just think they're fun. And I think, I had this conversation the other day, but I think where we went wrong was when we started trying to attach some type of, um, not value, but like, I don't know, where we started trying to like attach like, oh, this NFT does this, or you can actually do something with it instead of just appreciating it for like just being something fun and like your digital identity in this community that you chose to join and be a part of and participate in. I don't think, to me, NFTs like shouldn't do anything. They should just be I guess your PFP. But I guess a lot of people would disagree.
Yeah, I mean, like NFTs, just non-fungible tokens. So like I think it's like there's some nuance there for like I think people associate NFTs as like pictures one to one, but like that's not the technology that they are. They're just like they're not like worth. They're not all worth. There's more than there's only one, and they're not all worth the same amount. So, but I mean, I enjoyed the shit out of NFTs. I remember like I actually minted like 10 SMBs because I minted 5 and then left my house for like 45 minutes and came back and minted 5 more. That's how under the radar that was. I sold them all for like less than $10, 10 SOL each before I really knew what I like. NFTs weren't known for that. Yeah. I thought I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, look at
Yeah.
me flipping NFTs. And then like 6 months later, I'm like, well, fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
the degenerate apes was my favorite mint of all
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
like it was a shit show. I didn't even get a mint one because the infrastructure was so bad. And I love that anytime like infra fails, their account pops on there and says infrastructure sponsored by degenerate apes. Like it's this meme that they've been doing for like 3 years at this point. And every
Yeah.
time I see it, like anytime somebody talks about some sort of technical issue or infrastructure failing, they're on it with their
Yeah.
comment. So, sponsored by the Degenerate Apes Academy. Um,
Yep. Yeah. I did so I got in on the S&B as well, but I only minted one and then I forgot about it for a while. And then I looked at it and it was like worth 100 soul or something like that.
yeah,
So
that was crazy, man. Like once those NFTs took off, it was another world.
dude, I miss those days. I miss those NFT days where it
It
was
made
just wild.
I think that's the big difference between, and I was talking to somebody about this. With NFTs, sure, there's PvP and there's like some contention there, but like there was also community and there was fun. Like with meme coins, it's more like just financial, like let's see who can rug each other the quickest, and like it's like a lot of it's not authentic for the most part. I think there are some like obviously Bonk, which I don't even consider a meme coin at this point because they're doing a lot of public goods. They're spending a lot of money in for the like for their hackathons, building tons and tons of stuff. I don't even consider it a meme coin. Like Maltai's another one. Like those guys have been around for a while, and I like the team. I'm not saying buy any of these coins. I'm just talking about. But then when you see 500,000 meme coins, like it's became like very like not friendly vibes anymore. And like that's the difference between meme coins for the like most part. Like communities and we're bonding, like that's NFTs. But like in memes, it's like let me see how much money I can make and like how much I can screw somebody else over. That's like I mean, maybe people disagree with that take. And there's always outliers and there's multiple outliers, like WIF got pretty big. They had a pretty good community, but like when you start seeing mass amounts of meme coins spinning up and people posting their contract addresses and like not really even attempting to like build a community, you know that like that's not necessarily the greatest thing in the world. It's good for like volume and trading and people using the chain, but in terms of like vibes, it's actually counter to vibes. It's like the exact
Yeah,
opposite of vibes.
it's the exact opposite of us. Yeah, it's pretty predatory actually.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, and it's I'm not a huge fan. Like I've only bought a few meme coins here and there because of that.
I'm a
You
boomer,
know,
dude. I like I stake Sol and I lend some USDC. But that's it. Like
who do you stake
I
your soul with?
huh?
Who do you stake your soul with?
I actually do some LSTs. I'm not going to say that on the thing, but I actually Brian Long actually has this validator. He just tweeted about it recently, where you stake to his private validator and your rewards come out in USDC, so you don't have
Oh,
to
wow.
deal with all the tax burden of conversions and all that sort of stuff. Is sort of the big plus. So I do some there as well. It's nice to just receive some USDC every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can get down with that. What do you think about restaking? Kind of a hot
I'll be
topic.
honest, dude. I don't have any fucking clue what it is.
Okay, there we go. That's
I
all.
retweeted the shit out of Jito's restaking stuff. Not a clue what it means. Somebody tried to explain it to me one day, and I was like, I don't get it, honestly.
Yeah, it is kind of a hard concept I found to like explain to people. And like again, like I'm a Midcurve, so I only understand it from like the Midcurve level. But yeah, it's kind of a tough sell so far.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's like it's too much. It's too like it's too blockchains for me. You know what I mean? Like it's just like too heady. Like I think that for it's obviously great to have, like, as an option because, like, when people are doing cool shit on Solana, I always love it. That's why I share it. And if Jito's doing it, then, they put a ton of thought into it. That's sort of okay. Well, if they think it's important and they're doing it, then it's important. There's a lot of teams like that. When they're excited about something, so am I. Just same reason with Or and MetaDAO and like anybody that's sort of doing really cool shit. People complain about even meme coins. People complain about meme coins on Solana, or some people probably think restaking's like not a good idea, or what. Who cares, man? Let people do what they do. Like let them go and build stuff on Solana. That's the point of this.
Yeah, yeah, that's the point. Actually, Nam said that really well in our last interview I did with him, or conversation I had with him.
I
He's
think
like,
one of the
bro,
top app store apps of all time is like a fart app. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like let people build shit and be stupid. Who cares? Like go
yeah,
about your life.
exactly. Go back, exactly. I mean, Nam said it like we are, for an industry that prides itself on being innovative, we're really quick to shit on people who
Yeah,
are trying new stuff. And
absolutely.
that to me is crazy. Like, and especially like coming from like, we're all kind of like birthed out of this Bitcoin libertarian, cypherpunk vibe, and somewhere along the way, like I feel like we kind of lost that a little bit. So it
Until
is kind of
now with Or proof of work on Solana.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But it is cool. Like Solana is a place where people can just like try stuff. Like, or I mean, yeah, or is a prime example of that. Like you can just build whatever you want, try it out, see what happens. And I think for me, I've been around crypto since 2014. Been in it for a while since like 2017, and Solana was a community that I was drawn to because of that. Because there was like this culture of just trying stuff, doing it, not taking yourself too seriously. I love that about Solana. When like the ETH people would try to just like shit on Solana, we would just own the joke. Solana would own the joke, right? Like the
They
silly
did. Like
dragon.
we would just turn anything into a meme and make fun of ourselves. Like Sequelana, like we took that on. Like we
Exactly.
like just owned up to it and was like, kind of right, but like who gives a shit? We'll just call ourselves that. You sort of take people's power away when you do that, which is equally as
You
good.
completely do. It's like in 8 Mile when Eminem like raps about himself in that final battle. He takes away the power from like what I'm talking about, that
Yeah.
scene. Yeah, so it's a similar thing. Like we took on Soylana, we took on all like the silly dragon meme. It's like all this stuff, and you just make it funny. It's like what can they say to you after that?
Solana community, if nothing, is great at taking a joke about themselves and turning it into like this hilarious thing. And then like
Yeah.
then the people that were actually being funny about it, like they're like, well, shit, like they're laughing at
Yeah.
themselves. What's going on over there? It's like, this is the whole thing. Don't take yourself too seriously, man. Just like,
Yeah.
don't like, we're here to build shit and build future of France and all that stuff. But like at the same time, like we got to have fun along the way, or what the hell else are we doing? Like it
Yeah.
would be a miserable existence if we couldn't have fun with these things.
Oh man. Yeah, for sure. If we were just writing peer reviewed papers all the time.
Yeah. The crazy part is just like within Solana, I don't think this is true for all other blockchains, actually very few I would say, is that the amount of like personability that most like the engineering crew has, like obviously like non-engineers or whatever, but the sort of stereotypical like engineer, like who doesn't leave their house, like just if just from Gito, Zano, and Lucas, and like all these guys, and like just every team that you meet is like, wow, aren't you supposed to like not be social, or like, you know what I mean, like this sort of stereotypical version of that. It's like some like, and honestly just hilarious people out there. You know, devs are out there tweeting hilarious things while also shipping incredible things at the same time. It's like a perfect balance.
Yeah. Shout out Trent. Shout out Guart. Shout
Yeah.
out Colin from MetaDAO. Shout out, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Shout out Based. Like,
It just makes us like have a good time, you know, like even in the worst of times, man. The fact that we made it through the whole sort of FTX stuff, now that we can actually, it's been far enough away that we can like look back, and like it's been like that for a while. It's just like everybody just shit posted their way like through depression and like out the other end, and just continued, and here we are. And nobody will ever be able to take that away from us, that like this is where communities are forged, trauma bonding.
yeah, trauma bonding for sure. Like Solana Legend talked about that. He's like, we were in this chat, everything's going to zero, and we were just like, all right, we're riding this to zero. Like we're ready to say goodbye, but we're not leaving until it actually hits zero. And like to me, that's pretty. I don't know. That's actually kind of powerful, right? Like
Yeah,
people stuck around through like some pretty heavy stuff, and like you said, like trauma bonding is a real thing. Like you forge those relationships, and it's like those are lasting relationships when you make it through something like that.
exactly.
So
Which also brings me to the point about like I'm I'm more excited than ever this year, I think, for Breakpoint, because last year I was, but I think like I had been to Amsterdam multiple times and I know the weather situation, so I wasn't super excited about it. But I'm more excited than ever this year. Like people don't realize like Breakpoint's like a family reunion for me at this point, you know, like 'cause this is my fourth one. And every time I get like one-off coffee or beers with random people to get to know, like, and just, I have a few that like one of them that and every year, Barrett from Cypher/Ranger, says he's not coming, and then he does, and then I find him and we go off and have a beer. There's a lot of those sort of things that I do that are just like, it's like, man, this is so refreshing to catch back up, because some of these guys you don't see for a year, and then like we all congregate in one city all together, and it's just like incredible every single time.
agreed. Yeah, I've been to 4 as well, or this will be the fourth one. And same thing, like love meeting up with the sci-fi guys, Tommy and Taylor.
Oh yeah,
It's
sweet. I love
those
these
are like my
guys.
first those are some of my first friends, like friends, like not internet friends in Solana.
Yeah, I saw them
Uh,
in New York City whenever they were just going through the Solana Labs Accelerator, and
yeah,
doing some meme royale stuff.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean it's good. It's gonna be so much fun. What are you looking forward to? Okay, we'll talk about Breakpoint for a second, and then we could probably cut off this, man. I feel like you and I could go for a while, and we're already at like 15 minutes. Um, but what are you most excited for besides like seeing people at Breakpoint? What are you most excited for? What's coming out of Breakpoint? Maybe you could.
Honestly, dude, I'll be honest. That's it. Like the rest of the stuff is for the ecosystem. Like for me, because like I'm constantly just like, I'm there to watch everybody else announce their major wins for the year after 12 months of just grinding. I'm just a spectator at this point. Like, I don't know any, like, I stay removed from if there are announcements coming out. I mean, obviously the one that everybody's thinking about is like seeing Kevin Bowers again is like, cause it's just a thing now. I'm excited for that, just like everybody. But the other part is like, I'm just stoked to watch everybody get to show off as far as they've come. And hopefully with token 2049 paired alongside it, pretty much, hopefully they get a lot of these teams get more exposure to more capital coming out of like APAC, which I think is going to happen. This is like perfect storm. Ecosystem is like crushing it right now. Token 2049 and Breakpoint are like right after. So a lot of people will be bleeding over into Breakpoint and getting exposure to Solana for the first time. And I think that's going to be huge for Solana ecosystem.
It is. I believe you're right. It is the perfect storm, and like KBW is right before that. There's going to be a bunch of Solana stuff going on at KBW this year. I think it's going to be bigger than ever. And then, like I said, and then token, and then Breakpoint, and then F1, which
Yeah,
is
I
the
think the other thing I'm really excited about Breakpoint is no panels. Like, I'm on the camp of I hate fucking panels. Like, I know
yeah,
lots of people like to be on them, but like, listen, dude, nobody listens to these except one person. You know, like
yeah,
there's a reason why everybody exits the building when panels start.
yeah.
And Super Team just did an incredible video about like and how true that
Saw that.
was. So yeah, panels are just the there. I think there are some people that are sitting there like literally taking notes and like listening to these people talk, but it's really just do that by the coffee machine. Go to the water
Yeah.
cooler. Like it's they're very unserious, I think.
So I know I've been saying this for a while. So like the first two breakpoints that I went to, I didn't even buy a ticket to the actual breakpoint. I just
Yeah.
go to all the side events, like hang out with people. And I feel like that's where most of like the BD stuff happens anyway, or like, the bonding, I guess, happens. So yeah, totally agreed again with you. I think this year is going to be the best year ever, probably the biggest year ever. And I'm super, for me personally, I'm excited just to go get chili crab with people and go get some fried chicken, just hang out and
Yeah.
like, sit on the little stools outside and just eat some chili crab on the street. Like that for me is the best part about Breakpoint, which I
Yeah,
think you already covered.
absolutely. It's just like spending time with these people that you see on the internet all day long. It's like the one time a year when we're all there. We all like, like to an extent at this point, like a little bit like starstruck and like and not in that like celebrity type of way, but you're just like all these guys who've just been crushing it. Like they're all in the same room and you're like you can just feel the like the power of these guys. Founding a company is hard. Founding a company on blockchain is way harder, and these guys have done it. And lots of them are talking like tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Like that's impressive as fuck.
Yeah,
So
it is. Yeah, man. That's exactly right. All right, let's wrap it up here. We've been going for
cool.
like 55 minutes now. Man, thank you so much for coming on the pod. It's awesome meeting you for the first time. And
Yeah.
let's make some cool stuff this year.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm like